Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for joining us again for our continuing Town Hall series. Of course, myself, Matt Morton, City Manager, and every month we're going to present a new look at a different department across the city. And it's so you can understand and we can communicate what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. And it all goes back to our mission at the city, which is delivering exceptional service by making citizens our priority. So our teams across the city, when we get around the table and we focus on how we're going to execute the council's priorities or strategic action plan or how we deliver service, our first thing in mind is how do we make you, our citizens, the priority. And so last month, if you'll recall, was Parks and Rec. We had a great look at how Parks and Rec lives that mission and how parks are more than places, it's about people. And so today we're here to discuss Public Works, and Public Works is the nuts and bolts of our city. They're the nuts and bolts of any city, and they're fond of saying they lay the groundwork, and I think you'll see that theme today during the presentation. Public Works is responsible for keeping the essential elements of our city functioning. They keep us green, they keep it well maintained, they work on our parks, on our trails, and then through our special projects team, they've showcased a lot of skills and unique talents that benefit our community, not only in the work that's done and the quality of work that's accomplished, but with a significant cost savings to our residents. And so here today with us to dive into Public Works and everything they do, we have Matt Mancill. I should let you introduce yourself. You want to introduce yourself, Matt?
All right. Thanks for having me, Mr. Morton. Definitely been with the city for just over a year. Came out of 23 plus years with the Air Force, pretty much doing the same thing, background in installation support or mission support. So transitioned over into Public Works with the city, and it has been a mile a minute working with the professionals over at the Public Works Department ever since then. And you're right, we do lay the groundwork. Very proud to say that our employees are some of the most proud employees, and they take the most pride in what they do every day. But it's kind of behind the scenes. So what I hope to share with you later today as we go through a little bit of a presentation is kind of what that is and what it brings to the citizens of our community. But so thanks for having me. Today I do have my Public Works Manager with me to kind of bail me out whenever I get in trouble.
The new Public Works Manager. Congratulations, Marvin.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Marvin, if you'll introduce yourself a little bit.
Marvin Calderon. I've been with the city for 6 years, and it's been a roller coaster ride the 6 years, but it's been fun. It's been great watching the whole department grow as I grow with the department. I came in as a maintenance tech, and recently Matt promoted me to manager, and it's just looking forward to making the department continue to grow.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of cool highlights before we get going, and one is, to your point, the pride that Public Works shows. And I think, when this COVID-19 pandemic started, and as a nation, as a city, as communities, we started redefining and really looking at what the term and what it means to be essential and the essential nature of the workforce. And I think we learned really quickly a lot of the things we take for granted from Public Works, and we drive around, and I drive around the city. I'm always so impressed with how well kept everything is, and that everything functions. Our bridges, our cycling, pedestrian pathway bridges are maintained. Our trails look great. Things are getting fixed. Roads are patched, and it's Public Works, and we don't, pin a badge on it. It's not as glamorous at times as maybe fire or other departments, but just as essential of a service that keeps us moving every day, keeps our sense of place and our placemaking and our pride in community strong, and so really grateful. And then Marvin, your story. You've been here 6 years. You started out, you said, as a
Maintenance worker,
and if I'm not mistaken, Public Works Manager is the third highest position in the organization. I mean, the next evolution would be Assistant Public Works Director. So it's fantastic that we continue to grow our staff positively. We continue to have opportunity, and we have a lot of folks like yourself, Marvin. Matt talks a lot about your commitment and your expertise and all the things you bring to the table, that we have those capacities to grow internally and develop staff and professionalize. I know that's a theme today of the topic, is how for the first time in the city of Palm Coast history, you guys are leading the charge on professionalizing the Public Works Department. I think it's really exciting. We're definitely going to get into that. So I think if the next step, if I'm not right, you guys have prepared a slideshow, a visual presentation to narrate, so we can really share with the community today, before we get to the Q&A, what it is Public Works does, how you do it, and what the future of service delivery in Public Works looks like for the citizens of Palm Coast.
Absolutely. I think, it's important to kind of provide an overview of, what the different divisions and crews in our department are responsible for. We provide that sometimes through our Citizens Academy, but not everybody gets the opportunity to go through that. So that's what we hope to give you today with this presentation. So Tyler, if you'd pull that up.
All right, so I'm going to do the very first slide, then turn over to you guys, because it's a great recognition, and the city as a whole just received the Voice of the People Award, which comes out of the National Citizen Survey, which is that independent survey we do every other year. It's in partnership with the International City and County Managers Association. And so getting this award, being selected, there was only 19 awards given across the country through this award program, and only 7 of those awards were for Voice of the People, which essentially is most or significant improvement in delivering on what our community says is exceptional. And how we know that is because a lot of these key metrics, and some of those that are directly applicable to Public Works, as far as quality of community, satisfaction with neighborhoods, this all goes back in large part to the work that Public Works does. So we wanted to point that out, and I think, again, the professionalism, Matt, you've brought in the last year, and the continuing work that Public Works does is part of that. So we thank you guys for that, and want to recognize your contribution to the city, to the community. And if you'll take us through the slideshow and show and tell us what Public Works does.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Morton. All right, so again, we're just going to provide an overview of some of the things that our department is doing, as well as the structure that we have within the department with the different divisions. As Mr. Morton mentioned, we do like to say that we lay the groundwork. I think that's because we're definitely responsible for maintaining all of the things that sometimes we take for granted every day. It's the roads, it's the right-of-ways, the landscaping, signage, and those kind of things throughout the city that you drive past and you don't really think about until you notice something is wrong. So we're hoping that we do a good enough job that maybe you don't notice that there's anything wrong very often, but we do know that there are times when things need to get done, and we rely on you to bring that to our attention. So we do thank you for that. So our team also provides maintenance to some of the internal things that we have within the city, and that's our facilities and our fleet and our equipment items. So we'll get into all of that as well. All right, so we have 4 basic divisions within our department, and many different crew breakouts within those too. So we'll try to give you an overview of just kind of the main things that they're responsible for, and the scope of which they take on each day. So moving on. The first division that I'd like to talk about is the one that I rely on to keep me out of trouble every day, right? It's our administrative support. So we have a wonderful admin manager, Soraya Zapata, and I could not bring her in here today because she told me she didn't want to steal my thunder. But really, she keeps us on track every day with the staff. And they do. They assume the responsibility for all of our day-to-day operations, from our budgets to our filing, to the correspondence, to really being the front face to our customers as well. So they're the ones that you'll talk to if you call the department and have a question. And we're really lucky to have quite a few outstanding professionals within our admin staff. As you can see, the smiling faces here, these are the people that I rely on, as I said, to keep me out of trouble every day. But and we have some pictures as we go through here, just because I want to highlight the individuals that are taking on the workload every day, and give them the credit that they deserve. Our largest division, I believe, is the streets division, and you can see that they take on special projects, traffic sign and signal crew, our tree crew, which is fairly new, and I'll allow Marvin to chime in on that in a little while because he kind of grew that. And then our landscape and mowing operations, which I know you see them out every day. They're very, forward-facing within our operations. And I will say, you mentioned earlier our citizen survey and the response we got, and I know that a lot of that is because of the hard work that these guys do. I tell a story from time to time about, I think it was my first week here on the job, and I was driving down Palm Coast Parkway, and my father-in-law was in the car. And he just happened to look over into the nice decorative medians that we have and mentioned, how much he thought of the grass. He's like, wow, look at the St. Augustine grass. It's beautiful, And I told him I just might happen to know the guy that takes care of that. So, it definitely is a lot of pride in what they do, and they work hard to make sure that our citizens have a beautiful city that they can be proud of. Our special projects crew, they're responsible for road maintenance and concrete sidewalks and pathways, and that's kind of where they started from, right? There's definitely been an evolution over time on what they do. Just to give you some numbers, they're responsible for over 551 linear miles or 1,114 lane miles of streets, and obviously that grows as we continue to develop. And then the sidewalks and pathways as well. There's over 125 linear miles of sidewalks and pathways, and these folks have the expertise to take care of that in-house. And we're continuing to expand upon that as well with, better equipment that can do, higher quality repairs, such as I think it's called a hot box, is that?
Yeah, we're getting an asphalt hot box so we can do in-house asphalt repairs instead of contracting it out. That's just another way for us to save money. Save the citizens money and respond to potholes and customer service requests faster than we would normally would.
Yeah, I was going to say, one thing is the savings, but one of the more exciting things about having that capability is rather than now wait or be at the mercy of a contractor to mobilize, sometimes that can be a couple of days, and it can get frustrating for folks when they put a work ticket in and they're waiting. Go right out and take care of the problem.
Absolutely, and the quality of repair definitely goes up to, a pothole repaired in that manner. That repair will last a lot longer than through the cold patch methods that we used before, or like you said, relying on a contractor to take care of it for us. But like I said, this is an evolution within the division, so they kind of started doing that, and now they are really the go-to operations within our city for any kind of project. Marvin, can you kind of expand upon some of the things that they've been doing for our city?
Yeah, they originally started off as a sidewalk maintenance crew. That was the original plan for that crew, and then they just started identifying people with different skill sets, and we started taking on, higher level projects. And, by identifying all the skill sets that we had in-house, we were able to, again, respond to, needs that the residents have quicker than we would, by sending it out to a contractor. Some of the projects we worked on this year, it was the refurbishing of Waterfront Park, Indian Trail Sports Complex. We're about 95% done over there with the baseball fields. And we're doing some remodeling over at the Public Works facility now, and we're currently working on that. We're about 90% done on that, and all these projects have been done in-house to some cost savings to us and the city and the residents too. But they could, like Matt said, they continue to develop, and the sky's the limit for them pretty much. And it works pretty much with every employee at Public Works. They all have different skill sets. It's a very diverse group, and you can really throw any type of challenge at them and they'll respond well.
Yeah, I think some of the most visible, like you said, that our citizens will notice this year would be the Waterfront Park pier refurbishment, as well as the current operations going on at Indian Trails to renovate the ball fields.
Yeah, my son plays there every day, and he's asking me when the field's going to be ready. I can't wait to play, and he's loving it.
Good. Yeah. All right, so moving on to our sign and signal crew. So these guys are responsible for 61 traffic signals and over 11,000 street and directional signs throughout the city. So they keep them in good repair. They do the inspections and maintenance. to make sure that everything is good. They also handle our street sweeping operations right now through some augmentation from other staff, but they're primarily responsible. The fact that, I mean, if you think about 11,000 plus signs throughout the city, and it's basically
4 guys.
4 guys taking care of all of that. 61 traffic signals right now. Like I said, I think that'll definitely grow as we continue to expand. But we also look to find ways to allow them to do their job, safer. And one addition that we were able to share with you this year that was added in FY20 was this articulating arm bucket truck that allows them to repair signals without having to shut down a lane, but it also keeps them out of the lane of traffic while they're doing the work. So definitely a good addition for them, safety-wise and operationally. They can do the inspections faster, higher quality, and like I said, without much disturbance to our drivers throughout the city. So this is some of the operations that they do, and things that kind of go unnoticed, I think, is where do the signs really come from, right? So they have an in-house operation to where they can print the signs and put them together so that we're not having to rely on ordering them or having a contractor come in and take care of that. Definitely speeds up the response time for these repairs. And Marvin, isn't there a requirement on the time that we have to respond to some of those?
Yeah, stop signs is usually 24 hours because it's something critical that impacts traffic flow. Regulatory signs, we have to inspect them within 12 hours, I think.
Good. All right, so like I said, tree crew, I'm going to let Marvin talk about this because this is kind of his baby. So
Yeah, the tree crew kind of developed from the neighborhood swale maintenance crew. When I was the crew lead for that crew, I got handed a stack of work orders, and we kind of took off running with it. First, it was just myself and another person, and then it kind of grew to 4 people. We identified the need for an in-house tree crew. That was another thing that we used to subcontract out. Now they've taken on a bunch of different things. They handle fire mitigations. They do the sight distance. They respond to every single request that comes in through, field service lightning. They've also continued to develop because now they do guardrail repair in-house. We no longer subcontract that out either. So it's continuing to identify the talent that's in-house so we can continue to, keep everything in-house and just move forward with that.
So just a couple of takeaways from that. We definitely rely on these for hazard mitigation. If you see, a tree, a hazardous tree, something like that, they can take care of that. But something where they were able to impact our emergency operations preparation as well was they trained most of our department and some other department personnel, I think in stormwater division and fire department.
Yeah, we coordinated with the fire department, and we had a Sawyer class, and we trained almost every single department in the city as far as utilities, stormwater, public works. We all had, I think it was about 2 months of training in the back where we screened dirt, where we have a screening operation. We kind of did a land clearing operation. We knocked down some trees, and we used those trees for training. So that was some, thing that they helped out with. But like I said, they continue to develop, and again, sky's the limit for them also.
Yes, I think we take for granted sometimes. We know the terminology, we know the lingo. And so I heard you, Matt, earlier talking about fiscal year, and Marvin, you just said Sawyer class. And so essentially what we did, and the theory was to broaden our capability and to add to our responsiveness, especially in times of emergency, when we're doing hurricanes, when the Sawyer class is the class, those who don't know, to learn how to properly and safely and effectively operate a chainsaw. It talks about PPE, which is personal protective equipment, and how to operate, maintain, safely inspect, and utilize a chainsaw. And so we, again, in that vein of making sure that all of our folks are trained, their training is diverse, their training is applicable to what we need, especially not just in the work week, but in times of emergency. We identified folks, they went through this Sawyer or chainsaw training class, and now we have broader capability than we've ever had to be responsive, not just to the day-to-day work as needs may ebb and flow or arise, but for wildfire mitigation, for emergency hurricane response. And I think, again, that just goes back to that commitment of leadership in the Public Works Department to adapt, to professionalize, and to continue to push forward to make sure we're delivering exceptional service, quality service that's competent to the community. Another thing we mentioned, and I want to pause on really quick, Marvin, is you mentioned field service lightning, and I'm sure a lot of folks don't know what that is. We have a presentation coming in the near future to council about where we're at with the status of our Palm Coast Connect and the things that work through that. Palm Coast Connect is more than an app. It does a lot of things as far as efficiency, accountability, and transparency for the city of Palm Coast. One of those things is the component we call field service lightning, and essentially allows you as a resident to create an electronic work order, to have that work order track throughout the process. That informs you as a resident, knowing when and how we receive the request, when things are being done. In fact, we're going to talk about an example of that later, where a pothole was literally filled overnight, and that's no longer the one-off. This is a more common occurrence now with this field service lightning. From the managerial standpoint, from the operations standpoint, the exciting thing has been you get that work order in real time. It's distributed out to the field in real time. It's completed and notated in real time and back. And not only you as a manager, but the citizen knows that the work's been done. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But it's these trainings, these new technologies, these systems that complement the extraordinarily talented women and men we have in the department that are allowing us to be more effective, more transparent, more accountable in delivering services. So I think these are really strong themes that we've seen in the last year and a half, emerge in this new Public Works Department that again is for the first time seeking professional accreditation to overall increase that quality and competency that our community knows that we're on the right track, we're doing the right things.
Yeah, so when you talk about field service lightning too, one of the things that I appreciate as a director is the ability to really, do the analytics and look for gaps in training, gaps in capability. So we can tell through maybe a prolonged response time that there's a need to look at something to determine if, why did that take so long to get accomplished? Maybe we didn't have the resources we needed on hand to do it. And are there ways that we can solve that?
Yeah, it allows us to do that data benchmarking. I know it's a little different, but in utilities, as folks are aware, we were able to see through those analytics that we had an extraordinary number of call-outs on PEP tank systems between 5 p.m. and usually about 7:30 to 8 p.m. And traditionally, those have been staffed through overtime. And what we realized was the data was strong enough to support augmenting the normal operations of those crews, having them come in a little later and stay on a little later. One is more effective. We're out in the field, we're out doing it already instead of having to be called out on an OT process. But two, it's more cost effective because now it's just part of the regular shifting for these new folks rather than having to coordinate and pay for overtime. So it's exciting that I know you've only been doing the field service lightning process just for a few short months, but already you're learning and being able to visually see and understand where gaps are, where we can augment, where we need more resources, more training. So it's really encouraging that we're doing this performance and database management that really drives efficiency.
Yeah, it's been great an implementation into the department because it's not only us using it. We started with the Public Works, the Streets Department as his initial goal to get that working, but now we started expanding it into the facilities and into fleet and starting to track all that stuff. So it's been great. It's a big asset.
And just last thing before we move on, as a reminder, we talk about field service lightning, we talk about these modules that we're creating new systems, we're able to track and monitor and benchmark. And that's being created with the current licensing we have, with the current staff we have, having that flexibility in-house to design these things we need and execute them is tremendous. And so, having that capability, these are, again, capabilities we're deploying that we have in-house.
And those changes can happen real time. That's something that I've been impressed with. If we don't have the data on something we need, or we need a new block added somewhere or expanded, our team here in the city can do that usually the same day that we ask for.
Yeah, it just takes me an email, and then within the hour, I get a response back. Hey, you're ready to go.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast, how agile the system really is. So.
Yeah.
All right, well, I didn't want to sidetrack us yet on that, but
Good.
But yeah, thanks.
All All right. So, the next division we'll talk about within, or I guess crew within the streets division is our landscape crew. And, I think the title says a lot of what they do, but really it does not, pay homage to the scope of which they are responsible for. And I do have some numbers here just because I want to try to, blow you away with the data, right? So 93 decorative medians that they're responsible for throughout the city. That's about 367 acres of grass, 112 linear miles of edging that they have to do, and 356 irrigation zones, of which each zone has countless individual sprinkler heads.
Yeah, it's countless. I mean, if we went out and counted, it'd be a big number.
Yeah. So, it's definitely a huge task, and as you know, it's kind of cyclical too. We're luckily getting to the point where the grass is growing a little slower at this point, so we can start to focus on some more of the, the detail work that we do around this time of year. But as we progress through the summer, when it's hot and we're getting a lot of moisture too, a lot of rain, and the grass continues to grow, it is definitely a full, pedal to the metal operation that these guys have to take on. So something, we talked about field service lightning. We're also looking at leveraging some of our GIS capabilities in this so that we're tracking with those two capabilities our cut cycles. So, what kind of rotation is the best that we can do with the resources that we have versus what is the expectation that our citizens and our council expect of us when it comes to landscape operations, and that kind of equates to how tall is the grass is what our citizens see. So we're definitely trying to look at ways to make that more efficient. But so we also have, in addition to the landscape crew that I just spoke about, that is more responsible for medians and right-of-way mowing, we have our neighborhood mowing crew, and this is one of our least understood crews, I think. So, we have 13,000 vacant lots within the city, and these guys maintain the swale frontage on those vacant lots, and really the purpose is to keep water flowing within that swale system, so that there aren't vegetation blocks within those areas. They also take care of non-decorative medians. So some of our neighborhoods, you'll see they have kind of an island area in different locations, and they take care of those. They also do line of sight clearing within neighborhoods, so that if you don't know what line of sight clearing is, I think if you've ever pulled up to a stop sign and tried to look left or right and you couldn't see around that corner, well, that's line of sight issues. So we try to take care of that through some of the equipment and expertise that we have. And then always an issue is trash collection and litter control. I think it's constant. So we have a couple of guys that we have one full-time that is responsible for emptying of trash cans, picking up litter on right-of-ways, and those sorts of things. And then we also augment that with all the other staff. We have personnel, basically everyone on a mower has a bucket, has a grabber, and they're picking as they go. We have individuals that we divert from other work assignments when we know that we have heavy litter issues going on, to focus on those kind of things. And it's amazing the amount of litter that we pick up. We've had to expand to 2 dumpsters in the yard at all times just to be able to move it.
And so, again, on Tuesday night at the council meeting, this issue again came up of Public Works looking at the vacant lot swale mowing program and maybe ideas that could help augment that, whether it be a service charge or, again, 13,000 vacant lots that the city maintains. And if it's developed, if I own the home or if I have a building up, then obviously it's my responsibility to maintain and mow that swale. So that's a relatively hot topic, and it's going to be coming, I know, for a lot of discussion and consideration by the public on, should vacant lot owners have some obligation towards the cost of that maintenance, as it is, as you mentioned. I mean, the essential nature, one, it's a visual issue. It's probably a pest control issue. Most importantly, those swales have to be maintained because they those 13,000 lots have an impact on the flow and water quality and reduction of stormwater through this well system. So, very important issue. I know we're going to be discussing here shortly.
And I apologize, I think Marvin did correct me on this slide. It's closer to 17,000.
Yeah, it's somewhere
Vacant
between
lots right now.
15 and
Oh,
17,000
17?
vacants, yeah.
Yeah, I keep hearing 13 too, so that's part of this conversation is
Yeah.
I know we're looking at how many it really is, getting them mapped, what it means, lineal, that's a full-time crew. That's mowing, obviously, there they are.
Yeah.
That's mowing, residential neighborhoods.
Absolutely, and we definitely hear our citizens. I think the two main things that I hear, number one is, how are we paying for these operations and how should we be paying for these operations? And the other thing is kind of the misunderstanding of how we talk about it. So, I've heard some feedback on, well, the lot, the empty lot next to me is not as pretty as my lot. And again, we go back to, our intent is not to landscape an empty lot. It is to maintain the swale on the lot frontage. So I think there's just some, message delivery that we can improve upon in there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we might be getting a little esoteric, but I know one of the 8 principles of public sector finance, which I know our community thinks about all the time, they may not articulate in these terms, but we're always thinking about it, is equity. What's equitable? Who pays what and why? And we talk, that happens when we talk about user fees for a service like playing golf. It may come up as a user fee when you're swimming or playing tennis or engaged in a program you choose to act in at the community center. And this is one of those continuing ends of the conversation where we're going to talk about equity in terms of what we're going to do as a community. So.
So this is just some action shots of our landscape crews. And again, I definitely think this is something that our citizens probably see the most of within our operations just because it's so visible. They're out there in the right-of-ways, they're in the medians, they're maintaining the things that, we really get to appreciate every day as we drive around this city. So definitely appreciate all of their hard work. All right, so moving on to one of our other divisions, facilities is a division that we've really just started to grow within our organization. I apologize, looking at my notes here. So, facilities kind of came from just a few people that we had that were responsible for some general labor activities throughout the city. If we needed some things moved around, if we needed, obviously, like this room here that we're in today, reconfigured for one type of meeting or another, they were responsible for that, and they still are today. If we needed some boxes moved from one location to another, they'd kind of start, they'd be the ones that you'd call if you want a desk moved, if you want those kind of things. But when we look at what facilities maintenance is truly responsible for from a public works, professional perspective, it is maintaining our city-owned properties and assets and ensuring that we get the longest life cycle out of those. So that's kind of where we're going with it. And we were able to kind of carve out a little bit of our internal operations without growing staff so that they could be dedicated towards those efforts. So we now have a dedicated facility maintenance supervisor. We've centralized resources and budgets within his control to take care of those things. And now we focus on preventative maintenance and really next level facility life cycle management as we move forward. One of the things that Fred, as our facilities maintenance supervisor, is responsible for is also our facilities landscaping crew. So, we talked about streets department has landscape personnel, but they don't take care of the grass around City Hall or the grass around Public Works or the grass around utility, right? We have a dedicated crew that does that, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that, how we're budgeting for some things. Utility is an enterprise fund, so they pay for some of those services. The general fund pays for some, so this allows us to focus efforts along with the allocations where it belongs. We've got a few guys that spend a lot of time doing that. One of the things that I want to talk about that they also do that really blew me away when I came on board was the well sites and the lift stations that we have throughout the city, right? So they are responsible for taking care of, I think we got the wrong slide, that's why I keep going back and forth, but so they are responsible for taking care of every single one of those, and they're in the hundreds right now, so that, and spread throughout the county in some cases, even some of them on the borders of what we would consider our city, city border. So definitely a lot that they're responsible for taking care of. One of the things that we do that's kind of unique to us too is pond maintenance, and we have several throughout the city that our streets guys take care of, and also our facility landscape folks take care of the ones that you see next to the fire stations and those kind of locations. They take care of the signage, and then obviously all of the beautiful landscaping around our facilities. So yeah, I think I have that number here now. It's 250 plus well sites and lift stations throughout the city, and those we just now started mapping those on GIS as well, so that we can keep track of when the last time it was mowed, any issues that we found with it, and keep track of that rotation as well. All right, so this crew is our facilities maintenance crew. They're the ones that are out there doing the preventative maintenance on it. You'll see them doing some painting operations. You'll see them doing, power washing. They take care of, the HVAC systems and the pest control contracts and all of those kind of things that we have in place to make sure that, we get that longest life cycle out of the facilities that our citizens have invested their tax dollars in. So definitely an important job. So right now we have, 19 city-owned buildings, and those are main buildings like the one we're in right now, City Hall, and 41 different outbuildings, which could include anything from, a gazebo to, a small maintenance shed, those kind of things, and then some of our parks facilities as well. All right, so you can see some of the things that they do, and one of the things that we added this year I wanted to talk about was, the tank maintenance. So we've gotten a fuel scrubber, and they've been kind of helping with that, along with some of our fleet folks, to go out and scrub the fuel in our storage tanks. This is something that we used to pay on average about $7,000 every time that a contractor would come out to do one or two tanks, and now we have a trailer and we can do it in-house, and we can do it on a much shorter cycle to ensure that the fuel that we have within the tanks is clean. It's not going to damage the vehicles. It doesn't go stagnant, and then it also helps us with emergency operations preparation, because we can store fuel in higher quantities and for longer periods because of that capability. Right, and fleet division. So I hold a little bit of love in my heart towards fleet, because part of my background when I first joined the Air Force was a heavy equipment mechanic. So these guys definitely take care of quite a few pieces of equipment. I think we have 320 white fleet vehicles, and when we say white fleet, we're talking about what you and I would consider a regular car, pickup truck, and those kind of things. We also have 43 emergency response vehicles, which is our fire trucks and our paramedic vehicles, and 215 pieces of heavy equipment. They take care of basically everything that's got an engine attached to it. And when we talk about things like handheld pieces of equipment, that's countless across our departments. Everything from a weed eater to a power washer to a small portable generator. Those things show up at their door, and they have to know how to work on all of it. And they do a great job of maintaining all of those things. I think Roger is one of our longest tenured employees within the department.
Yeah, I think he's around 14 years, I think.
15 years, yep. So he's our fleet maintenance supervisor, and I think he knows the history of every single vehicle that we have, where it's been, everything that's been done to it, all rolling up in his noggin. He takes a lot of pride in what he does, and I know he'll let you know if you don't treat his equipment right too. But it's good things. Definitely blown away by the fact that basically 8 mechanics taking care of, you're talking about 500 to 600 pieces of equipment. So, and you can see here just the diverse pieces that we have within our fleet, and we're talking everything from the lawnmowers to construction equipment and emergency response vehicles. These guys know how to take care of it all. They do most of the work in-house. They do manage some contracted work, but if we can do it in-house, we prefer to do it that way. We just have more control over cost and schedule and keeping things in service as long as we can. All right, so I think the next thing we have is something that I'm pretty proud of.
Oh, yeah. And our very own Tyler, who's hiding here in the audience, didn't you take charge of this video? And the team, so that was
team, yeah.
Tyler, Kim, and Angie. And we always say it takes all the teams working together, and Tyler, you've done, and communications has done some extraordinary work, and always willing to jump in and do something and pivot, which has been great. And as much as this is going to highlight Public Works, I want to be thanking our communications team.
Absolutely.
In the booth, for yet another quality product. So thank you, Tyler, and thank you, Kim and Angie.
So yeah, we had an opportunity come down a few weeks ago through the American Public Works Association, where they asked for people to submit videos of a day in the life of Public Works as part of a contest they were doing of highlighting your department. So I reached out to our comm team and I said, hey, can you help me here? I'm not very creative when it comes to putting things like this together, but I'm proud of the folks that we have in our department, and I really want to highlight the things that they do. So if you have any ideas, can you help me out? And I was blown away by the job they did on this.
The creativity, the professionalism, it's great.
Yeah. So I don't know if we want to announce it now or later, but
Announce it and show it. We're here. Let's go.
We got word on Tuesday that we won the contest, and I have no doubt that it's because of two things. Number one, the quality of the video that was done by our folks, and number two, the pride that we speak about when it comes to our employees and the hard work that they do. One thing that I'm not sure contributed to it was my acting skills, so you'll have to...
we'll let the community judge that here in just a minute.
Tyler, if you would, thank you.
Welcome to the City of Palm Coast. I'm Matt Mancill, the Director of Public Works. Our department provides a full-service operation, and I'm here to give you a tour in the day in the life of our team. At the start of each day, 74 hard-working men and women fan out into the city. Their goal is to make our hometown beautiful and bring pride to the residents. We have 9 different divisions in Public Works. We like to say we lay the groundwork because our department creates, maintains, and improves the infrastructure of Palm Coast. Our crews maintain all the median landscape throughout 60 square miles of the city. It's the lush greenery and manicured scenery that draws new residents and visitors each year. We even have some cool tools that help us cut grass in grounds more difficult to navigate, like this remote control lawnmower. We're also unique in that we perform pesticide treatment and manage our own irrigation system. In neighborhoods, our crews mow the vacant lots connected to swales, which are part of the citywide drainage system. They work hand in hand with other city departments to maintain them, so neighbors can live alongside neatly kept properties. On top of that, we have a specialized hazard tree crew that removes dead trees as part of storm prep or wildfire mitigation, which are 2 big prevention measures we take to keep everyone safe and their property protected. This same crew also goes out after a hurricane to clear roads for emergency vehicles. You can find our special projects team working on a number of really cool capital improvement projects. Throughout the summer, they've been regrading the ball fields at the sports complex so local kids have a safe and comfortable grounds to play on this fall. They also construct all city walking paths and sidewalks. Quality of life is our specialty. Our city facilities are spread out around town. We have a specific crew who manage the landscaping at these spots, providing color and friendly vibes. We also have a team that maintains those buildings. They also set up city events too. Back here at the department headquarters, our fleet maintenance techs are working to get our heavy equipment, white fleet, and at times even a fire truck back in service. Just across the yard is the sign and signal shop. Our specialists there maintain 9,000 street and directional signs and 58 traffic signals. Since we are located by the Atlantic coast and are subject to annual hurricanes, one of their most critical signs to manage are the evacuation signs for all emergencies. During the end of summer, hot weather and tropical climate guarantee storm prep. At our yard, we offer residents free sandbags and sand to protect their homes and businesses. Inside our offices, you'll find the Public Works Administration. They manage the day-to-day operations, including budgets, invoicing, and reports. Our entire team is like a family. We strive to do as much work in-house because of the top-notch workmanship of our crews. These men and women lay the groundwork of our future every day. It is an honor to serve the city of Palm Coast.
So thanks again to everybody that made the video happen, and congratulations to the Public Works team for winning the award. I think it's great. It showcases what you're doing, and that contest was sponsored through the American Public Works Association. And as we started out, this is the first time ever we're seeking and want to be accredited. And why don't you guys tell us a little bit about why we're seeking that accreditation and what it means?
Absolutely. So, I'll pass this on to Marvin to talk about real quick, but APWA is our professional organization, and when we talk about professionalizing public works as a department, this is kind of what we're referring to. So, this is going to allow us to benchmark practices throughout the industry to make sure we're doing the right things for our citizens, and that we codify that through policy and procedures as well. So, Marvin, as the Public Works Manager, you've also been selected as our APWA Accreditation Manager. So congratulations.
Thank you.
If you tell us a little bit more.
Well, APWA accreditation is basically a commitment that our department is going to make to improve our policies and procedures. What we're going to do is do a self-assessment of our existing policies and procedures and go over everything with a fine-tooth comb and find inconsistencies in it, and then go through the phases that the APWA recommends. So on this slide, the first phase is the self-assessment, which is a year-long process where we review all our procedures and policies within each division of the department. Once we do that and identify the inconsistencies in our procedures and policies and the ones that need improvements, we move on to phase 2 and start the improvement process. Once we start the improvement process, we start implementing that and submit it into the APWA, and they have a council that will review all our policies and procedures and recommend us for accreditation. And it's about a 3-year process, but I think the one we're really going to dive into is the self-assessment process. I think that's going to help our department become more efficient and run better as a whole instead of just individual divisions within the department.
Absolutely. So, I think we do a lot of things, and we do a lot of things well. But one thing I have noticed is that we don't really have a lot of those best practices written down in a procedures manual or something like that. So what this allows us to do is to leverage the capabilities and the process through APWA, and they have an online database as well, I believe.
Yeah, they provide a software that we can use to track steps within the assessment process, and then we can submit each individual procedure and policy to the council, and they'll review it and they'll send it back to us, letting us know if we need to make an improvement, or if they'll take the policy that we submitted and cross-reference it against national procedures from other public works departments throughout the country, and to see if we fall in line with them. If we don't, they'll let us know, and we'll just make the improvements that are necessary.
Yeah, so it is kind of a long process, one to 3 years, they say. We're going to take our time and make sure that we do it right, that we get the most benefit out of it as a department. But you know, when our council talks about their priorities, one of the things that they mention is succession planning. And I think this is definitely a process that is going to help us codify what it is we do, how to train on it, what are the proper steps and procedures, and it'll allow us to solidify our succession plan for every employee within the department.
And I think that's one of the things that gets me excited about the whole process, is that we're going to be able to involve everybody within the department. It's not just going to be an administration thing. It's going to be, you know, we'll get our crew leads involved, we'll get equipment operators involved, just to develop the procedures for what they do every day, since they're the ones that do it every day.
All right, well, we want to definitely thank the community for making time to be here again. I hope people are enjoying these. I know we got some good feedback from the Parks and Rec Town Hall. Again, we're going to continue on. I don't know yet which department is next month. I keep trying to get communications up here to kind of reverse but then no one knows how to run the technology if they're up here. But we're going to figure that out eventually to showcase what they do. But we'll be back again next month to talk about another department and hopefully show and tell is our mission and how we're living out our mission every day of serving our community, making our citizens our priority. And I want to thank you, Marvin and Matt. I want to thank again everyone who is watching this or will watch it. And if you have any questions coming out of this, make sure to log in to Palm Coast Connect, submit a case, we'll answer those questions, and stay tuned for some wonderful things happening, including accreditation, increased efficiencies, and more training and development so that we are prepared to serve our community. So again, thank you very much. Thanks to Communications once again for running this presentation, and we'll see you all next time.